I rushing this a little bit because I fear we'll get the LOOSSEMBLE teaser any day now? Yes, I am. See, I have a vision for their first and second comebacks that is based on what they gave us with their debut, completely separate from my plans of them pre-debut, before we even knew their name. This has been brewing in my head since September, but I haven't really had the time to delve into it. Now I will. Unfortunately, this is not the universe ticket video. I'm trying to upload something while I work on that and in between school schedules, so I promise it is coming, but you just have to give me time. Who knew completely upending your schedule from full-time work to part-time work, full-time school could be so jarring. I have such a clear vision in my head of what kind of concept it will be. It's also a full album because with the amount of activities LOOSSEMBLE have had, particularly video calls and fan signs, I would hope they have enough money to produce one. I think a January comeback would be ideal in the sense that they debut in September, a February comeback is roughly 5 months later, they also have their last LOOSSEMBLE fan signs in early January, and they've been talking about preparing for the comeback since late November-ish. But I want to throw a little curveball. So in February, we're actually, and I do have my issues with this, so I want it to be done properly, doing a pre-release single. Now hear me out. There's going to be a physical Ever Music album with added digital content, or a jewel case with a lyric/photo book. This is so they can actually do some proper promotions with it and have the investment of a pre-release single make sense. CTD loves fan signs, and though I disagree with the amount done for LOOSSEMBLE, I can understand the goal because this amount of fan signs used to be fairly normal back in earlier gens. Of course, those were in-person fan signs and not video fan signs, but the end result is essentially the same without the travel expenses of different cities and even countries. So this small album is to utilize the photo shoot associated with the release and to possibly get a higher music show score. Usually January and February are pretty slow months. It's a bit easier to get a win, so they might get nominated between broadcast, physicals, and social media. The single album would have 2 tracks, but 1 song, the Korean and English version. The pre-release will be Rocket Punch's Ring Ring, the perfect retro synthwave song. It has everything that makes an 80s synthwave song so good, and a rap breakdown that works so well. I kinda need the video to be really animated, like not 100% animated, but think kinda in the way that Girls' Generation's G is super animated. Like I wanted to have the vibrant colors, the neon, a choreography scene at a roller disco to tie into Sensitive and some of Vivi's lore. Speaking of which, I want this video to really feature Vivi and her place in the story, and I wanted to have this underlying creepiness that Luna are so good at. Like we're bringing back the Polaroid camera as a motif, and we're making sure Vivi is conspicuously absent from the pictures. There will be scenes of other members, like maybe Yeojin takes a picture of Hyunjin holding Vivi's hands and skating with her. Yes, it's a Luna lore reference, but the Polaroid only shows Hyunjin and cuts off right at where Vivi's hands should be coming in. There's an outro scene as well, not as long as the Sensitive one, where the song plays through headphones attached to a Walkman as Vivi closes a memento box on the Polaroids. Now, the actual album isn't releasing until around April? Early May at the latest. It's far away enough that Ring Ring gets to be its own era, but close enough that they can still be feeding off the hype they hopefully gathered with Ring Ring. I decided to call the album Neutron because it's like Newton as in Isaac Newton, but also neutron as in the particle with no charge. It's kind of the perfect sci-fi inspired name if you ask me. Our album begins with XG's Hisonu. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but if you listen to the narration, I don't think it would count as lyrics. All of it fits LOOSSEMBLE lore so perfectly, like it has the space/spaceship vibe, and a narration that goes 7 life forms detected, like the 7 friends they're searching for, initiating landing sequence. I swear, if CDD doesn't give us an intro like this, they need to fire their creative department. And it fits perfectly into our title track.
7 life forms detected. Accessing.
Completely switching things up for this era, we have Dreamcatcher's Odd Eye. Do I even have to explain the layers behind this one? Like the lyrics talking about being deceived and this place they thought they had found wasn't really what they were looking for, and there's so many ways to interpret visually. Also, Luna have never really done a rock-inspired song. This might be new metal, I don't understand genres. Me, I would heavily utilize Vivi's Odd Eye since she's the only member to officially have one, and have her be the first to realize what they're seeing is some kind of illusion. And because they're embracing the android lore, have glitching hologram effects. Also, all of them except Hiju have said they've been taking acting lessons, so let's put them to use! I would have scenes in the bridge playing on some claustrophobic imagery like walls closing in and sand covering them, but at the final chorus they break through it and manage to escape together. From the top of some sort of very tall thing, cliff, building something, they look back at the last bits of the illusion glitching out. Bonus points if they surround them with fairy imagery as shade. Behind them is a ruined city. I'm thinking along the lines of Irene and Silgi Naughty or Kai where there was once a vibrant and green, if abandoned, city. We're sticking with the rock influence for the first B-side in the form of Purple Kisses, My Heart Skip a Beat. I didn't get it at first listen way back when they debuted, but now they were supposed to continue Dreamcatcher's legacy of mixing rock influence with K-pop sensibility. I think Hyunjin and Hiju would really stand out on a track like this. I really want LOOSSEMBLE to take the unique chance they were given to explore genres and sounds we didn't get to hear with Luna and take advantage of these voices we didn't get to hear live up to their potential for all these years. I love how the little heartbeat sound feeds into Billy's Lionheart the Real Me, which also continues this heavy, almost anthemic beat while marrying it to the more familiar PTT-esque sounds. I think this is the one for Hyojin to stand out. It's definitely a song that's going to show off how underutilized the LOOSSEMBLE members truly have been. I think it would also be a serve to drop a lyric video for this song in the middle of the teasers that would, in my opinion, definitely draw attention to the release. Also, this is just me, but I think it would be so cute if LOOSSEMBLE were to adopt a group animal. I was reminded recently that their official color is a pinkish brown, and would that not go perfectly with a lion? Just think about it. Also, think about the cute merch we could get using representative animals. I know someone out there has connections that CTD will see. If they only have one takeaway from this video, let it be representative animal merch. This wasn't originally in my plans, but it came on shuffle and I couldn't leave it out. It's a perfect bridge from what we've been hearing so far into the more synth-based rest of the album. It's XG's Puppet Show. Part of what motivated me to add it was the fact that Hyunjin really likes the song. I think it would marry their pre-debut Luna sensibilities with their unique sound as LOOSSEMBLE. It's stripped back instrumentally, but the melody is so different from anything they would have released as Luna. I would like it to stay as an English track as well, but I do think it would work in Korean. Also part of my attempts to purge the fandom of weird incels. Although that is more needed for Artemis. Welcome to the Puppet Show, where we playing with the plastic doll. Following that, we have ITZY's Kill Shot, a synthwave track, but not in the upbeat pop way we're used to. I think this would be the perfect song to release a post-release visualizer for, with some kind of Y2K futurism, sci-fi. I don't know how to properly express the type of visualizer I'm seeing. I'm really banking on some of you having seen the same stuff I have, but you know in sci-fi visuals when they have like a human-like robot on a circle platform and they do a pose and the camera or platform spins for a 360-degree angle. I want that vibe. Also, to tie into Sensitive, I would have them driving a car in a synthwave landscape. The biggest visual inspiration would be something like Kai's Kai album concept. Now we have a rarity in one of my projects, an interlude. Sunmi's Addict has not been renamed because I don't know what to call it. I have a few options, like Ringleader, Spotlight, Running the Show, and these are all based on the lyrics of the song. If LOOSSEMBLE were to have a song like this, the lyrics would definitely be different, so I can't decide. I like something to the effect of pause, rewind to tie into the later half of the album. Who's running the show? Speaking of the later half, we kick it off with Red Velvet's I Just. I'm pretty sure it's a future-based song like Singing in the Rain, which is another slay. I never realized how apt the lyrics were for the LOOSSEMBLE girls until I looked them up just now. Apparently, it's about leaving behind a situation that causes you pain and looking towards a brighter future. It's also just perfectly crafted. I would actually fall to my knees if any Luna project released a song like this. We're moving properly into the second half of the album now with some proper retro synthpop in iChillin's La Luna. Of course they would have a song referencing the moon on their first full-length album, be serious. Also helps that this song is so magically cosmic, it feels like a natural continuation of their Luna works. It also reminds me of Real World in a sense. That, of course, brings us to the pre-release Ring Ring, which we've already talked about at length, no need to get much more into it. Continuing with the astral themes, Dreamcatcher's Starlight. It has Sailor Moon vibes, it has the obvious space themes, it's an 80s retro synthpop throwback, what more could you ask? I know we already have a Dreamcatcher song as the title track, and I do usually try to avoid this, but it's just too good. It's so angsty and like stars, moon, the themes are theming, okay? I added Girls' Generation's Closer based on vibes alone. You guys know I love a slower song, and this song scratches that itch perfectly. I could even see it do really well as a post-release single in a way, but we're not there yet. I think this song fits their vocal sensibilities perfectly. It's just understated enough that you can close your eyes and see all those city pop anime GIF music videos. God, I love city pop so much. Such a goated genre. After that is Kepler's Dreams. We're marrying together the retro synth pop and Luna's classic dreamy magical vibe. Honestly, this might just be me, but this song even sounds like it would fit the LOOSSEMBLE album perfectly. I may not agree with all of Wake One's creative decisions, but they ate this one little thing. I didn't even realize when I chose this song, but the lyrics are literally like a distilled Lunaverse. Fly like a butterfly, moonlight raising its head. Oh yeah, I need them to steal this. The final full song of the album perfectly marries together the first and second half in Brave Girls' After We Ride. Like, come on, it's described as synth rock. Is that not just this album? It's the perfect kind of song for a late night drive. Makes me feel like I'm in that scene in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And I don't even have a weird attachment to that movie. I think it would be really cool of them to release these looped visualizer teasers for each song. I might take it upon myself to make them myself and put them on my second channel. The outro is Asula's intro from her new pop album. I have it in my head that it should be called something like Lost World, or at least something along those lines. It has this almost playful kind of sadness to it that just encapsulates the concept of the album being LOOSSEMBLE deceived, but still keeping faith that they can find their friends. It also kind of reminds me of the bridge from Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again, which was what? Astronaut themed. I rest my case. Now for a bonus track. Who could have seen this coming? Twice's Moonlight has this sort of summery, late disco era feel to it, and we will be using it to fix yet another mistake made during Luna Prime. The song is in English, and we're keeping it as an English song and making it a CD-only bonus track until around early June. That's when we're releasing it digitally as a post-release single and pushing into the Western market. I see a very simple music video in the same vein as BB Girl's Lemonade. We'll have like a week of music shows before we send them to promotions in the US for about a month or so. A small tour along with talk shows and radio appearances if CTD manages to establish some connections. Then they're off for about 2 weeks of promotions in primarily the UK, but perhaps like a show or two in Germany, France, could probably get Sweden and Italy in there too. But of course, all this is happening under the guise of a proper LOOSSEMBLE tour to support the album. We're calling it Downlink The Search, and the finale concert is going to be Uplink Seoul. But I am all about maximizing the time they're there, and for the US section at least, they're going to record stuff for an After We Ride special music video called With Crew, because the fans will feature in the video. How, you may ask? Well, by being in the crowd at the concert, of course. I think it is really smart to focus some of their attention to foreign markets and actually try to push them there, because not only can they build on Luna's success, I'm fairly certain some parts of the K-pop industry have iced Luna out. Not blacklisted, but just think about the implications if more idols know that Luna sued their company, made it out, and are better than ever. It's in the industry's best interest, at least if you ask the companies, that idols and artists don't fight for their rights. That aside, I think Moonlight would be a really strong track to promote in the West. Europe and the US love a song about dancing, especially in the Moonlight. Just get it playing in Spain, LA, other such places, and we got a hit making its way to the charts. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but there's still Luna at the end of the day, and the prophecy must be fulfilled. So now, you might have forgotten already that there's a second release I have planned. This is for a summer comeback, and it's a mini album. It's building more off of the lore we saw in the Sensitive music video itself. I'm kind of thinking along the lines of how Billy have different worlds their lore is in. There's the more realistic Billage world, there's the fantastical Soul and Unconscious world. Now they're doing side B since 2 members are on hiatus. I think it's a really cool way to stay true to their lore while exploring different concepts. So while Neutron was more along the lines of the futuristic sci-fi elements in the Sensitive outro, this will be expanding on the memories they went back to in the main part of the music video. Since that part obviously takes place in the 60s, I wanted to do a very beachy 60s mini album. Think like Teen Beach Movie, but don't go watch Teen Beach Movie. Boycott Disney. Like I said, beachy 60s. Moonlight is actually intended to be a spoiler for this comeback on top of everything else. You can pretty much gather everything you need from just that. In terms of aesthetics, I want to lean into chimat bottom vibes and umpa umpa styling. Obviously the Polaroid camera stays as a common thread, but I think it would be cool to end on a shot of a Polaroid of all of them and Vivi slowly developing into it after all the others. Me, personally, I would want to record it in LA or somewhere similar where there's both a beach and roller skate culture so we can marry those things together. And hey, they could even use the tour to do it. I love maximizing time. Really, all CTD would need to do is give them a few extra days in LA. The album will be called Time Everlasting because I just could not come up with anything better. I used up all my creativity on Neutron. In my head, this mini album comes out in August to capitalize more on summer, since while September is still hot in Korea, I want there to be some chance for longevity. It opens with an intro because duh. I decided the best choice would be Nine Muses pilot episode as the inspiration. It has a really fun guitar throughout, and I think it would leave you just wanting enough to get you to loop the album.
Hey, hurry up, baby.
Following that is a B-side, actually, in the form of Red Velvet's Lucky Girl, which has very obvious doo-wop inspirations, but mixed with some creepy vibes and more modern pop elements. It's also very theatrical, so I think concert stages would be so fun. They could really lean into prop and staging the way they did the Shake It stage on Queendom. I also think the vibe kind of matches Real World a little bit with all the different elements happening. Then we have the title track with Laboom's Only You. I have been a truther. It continues the doo-wop and brass elements from Lucky Girl while having a bit cleaner of a sound. Like I said, I think the music video for this would be at a beach, feature roller skates and Polaroids. I don't really have a crazy story in mind, I just want an excuse for the LOOSSEMBLE girls to have fun, really. I could see them having a water balloon fight to this kinda. It also uses so much harmonization and layering, and LOOSSEMBLE just cannot disappoint in that regard. Right after, we have the second title track candidate in CLC's Devil. I eventually decided against it because I wanted a stronger summer feeling to color the album. It also has more modern elements and the guitar is more like James Bond type spy movies, but I still kept it on the album because I like the vibe. I did overplay it in 2020 though, so I don't feel too motivated to talk about it for too long. We go back to the doo-wop, literally, for FX's Yo 같은 내 친구, No More. I didn't realize, but this is really the ultimate K-pop girls song because they're just complaining about their friend constantly bailing on them when they get into a relationship and how frustrating it is to constantly be thrown to the side for a guy who ends up cheating on her. It kind of reminds me of Valentine Girl by the end. Not in content, but just in structure. Nearing the end, we have Twice's Scandal. Its only real similarity to the rest of the album is, I guess, just the strong bass line and summery vibes, but you can't tell me LOOSSEMBLE wouldn't eat up a song like this. This one actually has some TikTok virality capabilities. One just need to get on that.
Baby, we're a scandal, way too hot to handle. You can keep your eyes up.
The final song is Girls' Generation's Love is Bitter. Is it way more jazz inspired? Yes, but isn't 60s music essentially just jazz influences? Prove me wrong. Actually, don't. I'm just saying things. I do think slowing things down for a more mature brassy vibe would be just what this album needs. They need a song where they can either use stand mics or sit on stools, preferably a blend of both.
'Cause my love is always bitter.
I also think it would do so much to set their discography apart from Artemis's to have this track that's real instrument heavy because Mod House overwhelmingly leans towards synths and electronic elements, which is funnily enough not very common in the 1/3 era of Luna's music, but became more and more prominent with the introduction of Kim Lip, and they didn't really leave this synth heavy sound until And, if memory serves. Sure, there were some non-synth based songs in between like D1 and 365, mostly the ballads, but yeah, And was their first group release to not primarily feature synth based compositions. That aside, this is the end of the video. Thank you for coming with me on this journey of what it could be. I'm super excited to hear what LOOSSEMBLE's comeback will actually sound like, and the Artemis girlies have hyped up their title track so much now that I'm really curious how Birth and Distress will compute with the rest of the album. Also, this better be a full-length album, otherwise I see no justification for throwing out 3 perfectly good songs that were candidates for a pre-release.